Benjamin Lewis says, what's Hiyori's future role? Will her and Zoro bang? Hiyori and Zoro have less on-screen chemistry than I think any manga romance I can remember at all. You know what I mean? Like, any. Like, I can't think of something that has less chemistry than Zoro and Hiyori. And, like, you can look at something like Zoro and Tashigi, and it's like, yeah, there's like, some cool, like, it's a fun dynamic to follow and read. Zoro and Hiyori is just bizarre. It's just, like, she just meets him. He's ignoring her the entire time, but she's, like, automatically just, like, fawning over him, and that's basically their dynamic. Like, there's just nothing to it, really, right? Like, I could compare it to plenty of others, but there's always, like, a little story or something like that comes out of it, right? Like, Luffy and Hancock, how did it shift to the dynamic that it is today? Even though it's, like, a shitty gag romance, like, it started with them in certain positions, and then Luffy had to do certain things that swung her opinion over to him, and now, like, it's fun to see the way that their dynamic has developed over time, right? Zoro and Hiyori is just really, really weird. Maybe that Oda will take it somewhere, but, like, you know, you can even compare it to, like, Sanji and Pudding, which is a simple equivalent romance that you can look at from the most recent arc. Sanji and Pudding, maybe that's not a fair comparison. You can look at Sanji and Viola, and that's actually got something, right? Like, there's a little bit of a story that Oda wrote around Sanji and Viola, like, from where they were initially to what it became to, like, oh, wow, that actually played out into, like, a genuine romance in some sort of a sense by the end of it. It's just weird. Zoro and Hiyori is just weird. And Jacob Busky says, I mean, he saved her life. That's enough for anyone to love them. LMAO. I'm not saying, like, oh, does it make sense that Hiyori's into him? I'm saying, like, in terms of evaluating it as, like, a fictional romance, right? Like, what was the way that romantic storyline developed? One, do they have any on-screen chemistry? Maybe that's a little subjective to you. To me, I don't think that they have any sort of on-paper chemistry whatsoever. But the bigger thing is, like, how did this dynamic develop? Was it interesting? Was there, like, a bit of a story to it or anything like that? I think no, not at all. Dragon says the streets want Zoro and Robin, the demon and the king of hell. I mean, Zoro and Robin, forget romance aside or whatever, that was a really, really fun dynamic to read for a good section of the story. Everything from Jaya through Skypiea, and even parts of, like, well, Enies Lobby, they didn't interact much, but Jaya through Skypiea, the Zoro and Robin dynamic was great. It was really, really good. I'm not even talking romantically or whatever, just it was just a great dynamic to follow, because Zoro was the last one that she had to sort of win over, and the process of that sort of happening and Zoro softening up around her to ultimately what it got to, I thought that was really great. Drusser says, exactly, stories are not real life, and merely being realistic is not sufficient to be good. Exactly, like, you're looking for a dynamic, you're looking for something interesting and fun to read, not just like, oh, well, does it logically make sense?